Our topic today is taking a closer look at supplements. And we know that a lot of people buy and take supplements for a variety of reasons. And I thought we would kick off this conversation by just asking the question of what are naturopathic or dietary supplements?
That's a great question. It's a very broad question.
Yes.
Great question. Like, what does it mean when we say supplements? It's certainly an umbrella term where we are talking about either a capsule form or a liquid form or some kind of concentrated form of either vitamins and minerals. It might be herbs like tinctures, for instance. We often talk about herbal liquid extracts. It might be homeopathic remedies. It might be what we call superfoods like fish oils or green powders or protein powders. It might be a blend of traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine type of nutrients or herbs. So it's anything that falls under that umbrella that would be non-prescription. So over-the-counter sales would be considered a supplement.
Mm-hmm. Great. I think that was a great overall response. And when we are talking about the fact that it is over the counter and people are purchasing this, sort of on their own free will, what should consumers be looking for to tell them that, yes, this product has been authorized for sale in Canada?
Yeah, so there's actually some really strict regulations about that in Canada, which is very different from the US, which is actually really reassuring. People often think the US are ahead of us in terms of that, but they're in this context, not at all. In Canada, they are called anything that you want to sell under as a supplement is actually called, it's got a term, it's called a natural health product. It's NHP, you might hear that term. And you have to meet a set number of criteria to be allowed to sell it. And if you've met those criteria, then Health Canada will grant the company what they call as an NPN number, which is a natural product number, and that'll be on the bottle. So you know that it's allowed to be sold, and in fact, you shouldn't really be finding products without NPN numbers in Canada now, because this has been in place since 2004. Mm-hmm. And so it's reassuring. It's a good, because the guidelines are so strict about what companies are allowed to sell, what they're allowed to say. It's very reassuring in terms of public safety that there's nothing out there, there shouldn't be anything out there that is going to be different from what the bottle says it is, or that would be contaminated or problematic in any major way.
Mm-hmm. So safety definitely for one will always be a top priority, especially for Health Canada. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I think was very important with what you said is sort of what's on the label. And I think it's very common for consumers to come across a product that is making some sort of health claim. Mm-hmm. What should that indicate to a consumer?
Company approaches Health Canada and says, okay, well, we would like to put XYZ product out on the market, and we want to be able to make certain claims about it. So what we mean by a claim, it might be something like, okay, well, this formula is going to help you with sleep. That's an actual legal claim that you're kind of, maybe not making a promise, but you're kind of saying this is going to help you with your sleep. And you can't just randomly say that. You need to have it backed up. So when a company approaches Health Canada and they'll say, okay, I want to, offer this formula or this particular herb, for one, Health Canada has a set number of pre-approved monographs about any given ingredient. So this is it's basically a science evidence-based document that has a number of different studies backing up anything that it says, and it lists what you're allowed to say about a given ingredient. So that's one way companies will say, okay, well, it's clear about the dosages, like there'll be a specific dosage range that is allowed before you can make that claim. So you can't say, if the dosage range says it'll help you with sleep at 400 milligrams, you can't put 2 milligrams in the product and say the same claim, right? So that's a big part of, so any claims are very strict.
Yes.
And Health Canada will come after the company. And so it doesn't mean that that product can't do more than it says.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where naturopaths excel, right? So we, as NDs, we know our products, we know our ingredients, we know our herbs, we know our nutrients. We're going to rely on a lot more than just that approved monograph. We're going to rely on maybe some recent studies that haven't made it to the monograph. We will rely on a lot of traditional uses as well. We will rely on years of experience, potentially, if you've been practicing for a while. And so sometimes your naturopath might recommend for something that it doesn't say on the bottle. Mm-hmm. But in terms of what companies are allowed to do, Health Canada is monitoring that pretty closely. And they're very strict as well about how much information you have to list, like every ingredient, non-medicinal ingredients, safety precautions, contraindications, that all has to be included on the bottle as well, in both English and French in Canada too.
Yeah.